Very good afternoon to you. Sky News can reveal that the Prime Minister was advised that a political appointee, such as Peter Mandelson, should undergo national security vetting before being formally appointed. In documents published by the government under the terms of the humble address, there is a letter from the then Cabinet Secretary, Simon Case, setting out the process ahead of Lord Mandelson's appointment. So Keir Starmer is preparing to face MPs in the Commons later this afternoon amid accusations that he misled Parliament over the matter. Let's bring in our Deputy Political Editor, Sam Coates. And Sam, just decode this situation for us. What's gone on and what might it mean?
In a Sky News exclusive, we reveal that buried in a bundle of documents released by government is a letter from the then head of the civil service, Simon Case, to Keir Starmer recommending that he do the security vetting before he announced the appointment of Peter Mandelson. Keir Starmer ignored that advice and did the announcement first. And then the due diligence was done, the security vetting was done more than a month later. He failed, and now Keir Starmer is saying he's outraged that he didn't know this and should have known it. This rather suggests that Keir Starmer, at the time of Peter Mandelson's appointment, put the issue of security vetting very much secondary in his list of priorities, which critics say blows a hole in his argument that effectively he would have taken the security vetting advice, the knowledge that Peter Mandelson had failed seriously enough to cancel and terminate that appointment. At the time, he did not choose to go with the formal advice from the Cabinet Secretary that he should do the security clearance before he make the appointment. And therefore, Keir Starmer is open to the charge that the process was not followed and he did not act in the way that was proper. Another key element of his defence. Response from Whitehall sources, from Labour sources has come in. It's all pretty damning. One Labour source said this revelation was game, set and match for the Prime Minister. A Whitehall source said that this revelation could be his undoing. A Tory source says just archly, sounds like due process wasn't followed. We're waiting for the Number 10 daily briefing to conclude before we get the response from Number 10 to this part of the document. But I think allies of Ollie Robbins, who was sacked on Thursday night over this affair, think that this helps their case. And I think that this is quite a sizable development. Keir Starmer will face questions on it, likely to face questions on this specific revelation later today.
One of the big conversations around the situation in the Labour Party is contenders and successors, and we've had various names in the fray kind of ebbing backwards and forwards. Lots of focus at the moment on the Prime Minister. What about those who are maybe angling for the job? Where do we stand with them at the moment?
So what we learned through successive Tory defenestrations of their leader is that you don't really need to have a name in the frame in order to get rid of a Prime Minister. Boris Johnson was the natural successor, the obvious successor to Theresa May, but when Liz Truss resigned, nobody knew who was going to take over, and in some ways Rishi Sunak wasn't the initial favourite. So in some senses there is jockeying, but none of that has produced a clear front runner. Angela Rayner, obviously former Deputy Prime Minister, still hasn't sorted out her tax affairs. Andy Burnham, widespread thought to have in many ways the advantage amongst the members and the MPs, but is simply not an MP himself. Wes Streeting's had a tricky few months as well. So there is no obvious contender. I think a bigger reason why we're not seeing any more urgent political action or recrimination on any of this stuff is that we are 2.5 weeks away from the local elections. When it comes to a Prime Minister, a Labour Prime Minister, the judge, jury and executioner are Labour MPs, but Labour MPs know that there's councillors to elect on May the 6th, and there are MSPs and members of the Senate to elect, and so doing anything precipitously would have do very real harm to members of their own party, which is one of the reasons why MPs at the moment are holding back from doing anything more draconian.
Fascinating stuff, Sam. Always good to see you. Thank you so much. Plenty more from the team on the Politics Hub live blog. And in the last hour, the Reform UK leader, Nigel Farage, was asked about the Mandelson saga. Here's what he had to say.
It's impossible for the Prime Minister to say that the warning lights weren't flashing. And if you were Prime Minister, and there were news reports last September that your ambassadorial choice had failed vetting, you would have thought perhaps He might have had some curiosity to try to find out whether this had really happened or not. I just find the whole thing totally incredible. Incredible. There is no way the Prime Minister couldn't have known. You telling me that everyone around him knew and he didn't know? Well, it's possible that he's just a puppet and never consulted on anything, but frankly, it isn't believable. And I do believe strongly that he misled the House of Commons, that he lied to the country.